To win fantasy football, there are certain landmines that just simply must avoid at all costs. If you draft these players at the current ADP, the current price that they want you to pay, say bah, because you're a sheep and you ain't gonna make it anywhere. Today we got count them five names of guys that are way too high on draft boards heading into the fantasy season, man. So we're gonna be talking about all five of these guys and also some potentially better targets, guys around them that are better than they are, which means they should be falling down draft boards, and avoid these guys at all costs. If you're not in the Discord, go join them right now. We have the top 450 draft guide already out there. It's free. So go join that up. We already have 100 people in there. Be sure to want to like the video and subscribe, please. Say you're a part of this brand new channel. Name number one. It's Mr. Joe Mixon. R.I.P. Joe Mixon has had a hell of a career, man. Been in the league since 2017. He spent 7 years with Cincinnati. With Cincinnati, man, he was a man on a mission, and he was just getting better and better as time went on. In 2024, he averaged his second highest points per game in PPR formats. He was at 17.18 PPR points per game. He was pretty solid. 63% snap share when he was on the field in Texans. And the problem is, he wasn't on the field for all the games. He played 14 games. He got WWE wrestle slammed into his ankle. Somebody took him down with a nice little dirty tackle, and ended up, I think they got fined. I'm not really sure. But either way, Mixon missed some time, and now he's going to be 29. Turns 29 in July this season. So what you want to do is you kind of want to start fading running backs when they start getting towards that age. But that's not the only red flag here. So his yards per attempt was 4.1. That's actually not that bad. His receiving role actually faded a little bit. He had a much higher receiving role in 2022 with Cincinnati, in 2023 with Cincinnati. So he's had his lowest receiving role since 2020, or 2019 even. His lowest receiving role was last year with Houston. And the problem with that is the Texans have added more receiving pieces. So they have Nico Collins, and Nico Collins missed some time, but Nico Collins will be there now healthy again. They added their 2 rookie wide receivers in the draft, Jalen Noel, and then the other dude. And then also, this is the big one, they added Woody Marks. And not only did they add Woody Marks, they traded up for him. And they traded a pretty damn nice haul. I think they ended up trading like a whole 3rd round pick for this guy, Woody Marks, just to move up and grab him. So they're big on this Woody Marks guy. And what does Woody Marks do? Well, he's actually a well-rounded back, but he focuses mostly on his receiving skill set. So if Woody Marks comes in here and he's a pest, he's not going to steal the true workhorse role from Joe Mixon, unless Mixon misses time. But Woody Marks is going to steal some of the PPR receiving volume. That's going to limit Joe Mixon's ceiling, and it's going to reduce Joe Mixon's floor. Which is why, in addition to Joe Mixon's age, you want to start fading Joe Mixon. That's my advice right here. And also, look at his price. Joe Mixon, if I pull up ESPN and ESPN ADP, in a PPR league, they have Joe Mixon ranked at number 36. On my draft guide, I have Joe Mixon way different. I have Joe Mixon a whole 8 spots lower at ADP 44, I believe. I'm pulling it up right now. Yeah, I got Joe Mixon at 43, so I have him 7 spots lower. The reason being, why would I pay ADP 36 when, there's better options out there? Like, my ADP 36 would be Breece Hall. I'm much higher on Breece Hall, way younger, and not really as much competition there for the Jets backfield. And also, after Joe Mixon, right? So, Joe Mixon, ADP 36, my top 450 draft guide, I have Chuba Hubbard at 51, Kamara 54, James Conner 55, Amarion Hampton at 49. I'd much rather wait and target a guy like Hampton later on, Chuba Hubbard later on. Travion Henderson's going 57. RJ Harvey's going 58. I know these guys are rookies. It's not as high of a hit rate. So if you're not as big on rookies, you're fading them. DeAndre Swift is number 67 ADP on my board. So, definitely good running back values later in the draft where you can avoid taking an aging Joe Mixon who missed some time in 2024. The second guy we got to talk about is Rome Odunze. Now, Rome Odunze, man, looking at where he is on these ESPN ADPs, he's too high. Rome Odunze had a very, very poor rookie season. He was very overhyped, and his ADP heading into the year on ESPN is 64. So this is where I go to my ranking, and I'm like, all right, man, let's check. How good is my list? Please tell me I don't have him anywhere near 64. I'm pulling them up right now. Rome Odunze. Okay, I don't see him. All right, yes, I have him at 74. So I have him a whole 10 spots lower than ESPN. Honestly, I might even fade him a little bit more. The reason you want to be fading Mr. Rome Odunze, he had 1.32 yards per route run as a rookie. The target share he had was 19.2%. They add in Colston Loveland. They add in Luther Burden. Rome Odunze might turn into the fourth option in this offense. You got DJ Moore. You got Luther Burden, who was a 5-star recruit. You got Colston Loveland. And then you got 1.32 yard per route run, Rome Odunze. Wide receiver 65 in his rookie year. So bad. So bad. He averaged 8.5 fantasy points per game. And now his ESPN ADP is 64. But yeah, he's going before Ted McMillan at 65. Ted McMillan has the prospect profile similar to Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. You must be out of your mind. So paying 64 for ADP for Rome Odunze is ridiculous. You know, some of the guys, let's just name some of these wide receivers that ESPN has lower. You got Chris Olave at 74. 10 spots lower, Chris Olave. I'd much rather have him. Jordan Addison, I'd much rather have him. I'd much rather, I'd rather have Diggs. I'd rather have Kupp. I'd rather have Godwin. I mean, there's a lot of better, options out there than a Rome Odunze. I mean, yes, wide receivers going into year 2, you're excited about them. But I mean, Chris Olave, Ted McMillan. I mean, no-brainers. You want to be going for those guys over Rome Odunze. The third name is Ramondre Stevenson. His ESPN ADP is 85. So 85 is not bad. I mean, you're looking at what, a round 7 pick. So round 7 pick, you're thinking, all right, Ramondre Stevenson, maybe I can get something out of him. His last 2 seasons, he averaged 12.1 PPR points per game. Last year, 11.3 PPR points per game. His snap share, he was on the field 63% of the time. But what happened? Oh, they drafted Travion Henderson. And Travion Henderson got, end of round 1, early round 2 draft capital from the New England Patriots. He's also a receiving back. He was the Ohio State receiving back. Judkins was more the rusher. So Henderson has the skill set to run and to catch. So Ramondre Stevenson, welcome to the bench, buddy. His snaps, I think his snap percent will drop dramatically. I think we're going to be looking at more like 40% from Ramondre Stevenson. I wouldn't be surprised if it is a bit of committee and you do have to fade Travion Henderson a little bit. But Travion Henderson, I'm a lot higher on Travion Henderson than I am on Ramondre Stevenson. So I'm trying to see where ESPN has Travion Henderson right now. And I'm having a hard time finding him, which probably means they have him a little bit way too low. So let's just see where I have. Oh my God, they have Travion Henderson. They have Ramondre at 85. They have Travion Henderson at 84. You tell me in the comments. Who would you rather have? Travion Henderson, a rookie who has the receiving back, the draft capital, so historically high hit rate on running backs drafted that high, or Ramondre Stevenson? I think it's pretty simple. Looking at my top 450, if I go ahead and find Travion Henderson, I have him at 57. So I have Travion Henderson at 57. ESPN ADP has him at 84. So you can see there's a big distinction there. And I also have Ramondre Stevenson at 121, where ESPN has him at 85. So fade Ramondre Stevenson. Davante Adams is the next name. And this is where things get a little bit tricky, right? Like, I have Davante Adams on my board. I have Davante Adams at 42. Now, the reason I'm fading him a little bit is because ESPN, they have him currently at ADP of 30. So I have him 12 spots lower than he's currently going. The reason being, if we look at the ADP 30, right, it's nothing against Davante Adams. If I pull up Davante Adams' stats, he actually did show he is still kind of relevant. He played 14 games. He did average 17.2 PPR points per game. He was the wide receiver 10. He was on the field for most of the snaps. His yards per route run was around 2, which isn't great. From 2018 to 2022, he was closer to like 3 or 4. Let's call it 3. He was closer to 3 yards per route run. Now he's down to 2 in his previous 2 seasons. But I still think you can expect like a 15-point average PPR from Davante Adams. Especially, I think that so you have Aaron Rodgers, obviously, in the beginning of Davante Adams' career, OP quarterback. Now you got Stafford, and Stafford is elite. So I think Davante Adams is going to get a lot of touchdowns. I think Davante Adams is going to be a solid fantasy asset this year, even with Puka Nacua as the wide receiver 1. It's just Stafford's going to be able to elevate. The problem is, if he's going at ADP 30, like ESPN currently has him as, there is a lot better options I'd much rather take. Tyreek Hill, they have at 31. I'd rather have Tyreek Hill. I'd rather have Ladd McConkey. Terry McLaurin, it's almost a toss-up. Jackson Smith and Jigba at 34, I'd rather have him. DJ Moore's kind of a toss-up in my eyes because of the crowded room. Rashee Rice at 42, I think I'd rather have him. So, there is better options out there. You can get wide receiver 1s, whereas Davante Adams is, kind of going to be contending with Puka Nacua, who Puka Nacua had a huge target share his last couple of years. George Pickens is the final name on this list. Now, George Pickens, taking a look at him. So, obviously, first year in the league, he averages 9.7 PPR points per game. 2023, 12.2 PPR points per game. 2024, 11.7 PPR points per game. His yards per route run has been around 2.15 the past 2 seasons. And George Pickens' current ADP is 60 on ESPN. Now, I hope, again, so far, my rankings have been pretty solid. I'm going to go ahead and check my rankings. I have George Pickens around 63 as well. I actually might have to go ahead and update that and change that. The reason being, let's just look at the names around him, right? You can get Jerry Jeudy, or you can get George Pickens. You can get Chris Olave, or you can get George Pickens. You can get Calvin Ridley, or George Pickens. You can get Matthew Golden, or George Pickens. The reason being that I'm fading George Pickens is because George Pickens is the wide receiver 2 for sure. I do think George Pickens is in a much better situation with Dak Prescott. I do think George Pickens will have a better season this year than the last 3 seasons of his career. Problem is, you're guaranteed to get a wide receiver 2. Unless CeeDee Lamb misses time, you're guaranteed to get the ceiling is capped. Whereas if I go on a new guy like Matthew Golden, if I go on him, he could be wide receiver 1. If I go after Chris Olave, if he stays healthy, he could be wide receiver 1 on the Saints. No competition. If I go after Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs, they're Cooper Kupp, let's ignore that. I don't even know why I said that, but Stephon Diggs, like, I'd rather have Pickens than Diggs probably just because of the whole situation. But I'd much rather have somebody that I know is going to be the wide receiver 1 at the same price as George Pickens, who's the guaranteed wide receiver 2. It limits the ceiling. There it is, man. That's 5 names that the ESPN ADP, man. They have it wrong. So those are 5 guys to be fading. Let me know if you want more of them because there's a lot more names we can be talking about. Thanks for watching. Peace.